to a special edition of All Ball Chicago. I'm your co-host, Robert Bobby Reed, and I got the legend, the NBA veteran, the McDonald All-American, your host, Marcus Liberty in the building. What's up, Marcus?
Man, what's up, my beautiful people?
And I got a special guest in the building today. One of the top high school basketball players to ever come out of Chicago. A McDonald All-American, sometimes Mr. Basketball, fighting the line now, Final Four, on to the NBA with the Denver Nuggets. Give it up for your man, Marcus Liberty, man. Doc, that's what they call it. Give it up for Doc, man. What's up, boy?
Man, what's up, my beautiful people? Man. Hey, I'm excited about joining y'all show, man. I mean, you and my man been doing it, Bob.
You heard that? You heard that? Hey, why my headset is acting up?
Your headset acting up right now?
But I can hear you, though. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you, man. I hear you, man.
Okay, we'll just rock like this. I can hear you. I won't do the headphones today.
I said, man, it's an honor, man, to be on the show, man. I know you guys been having on other people, man. It's my turn to rock the show now.
Yeah, man. You know, we've been hearing a lot about Marcus Liberty growing up, coming from Chicago. You know, we hear the name. I mean, there's not another, it's one dude on social media, but he don't count. But there's not another Marcus Liberty associated with basketball, man. And when you mention Chicago, your name is synonymous with the greats. And I want to just put it back on you, big dog. You know, first of all, thanks for coming on and giving up your time. I hope people can hear us pretty good because I can hear you pretty good. And I just want to say, man, who put the ball in your hand, man?
Man, I know we had talked about it a little bit earlier, in our shows, but it was my dad, my uncles, my brothers. I had two older brothers. So I would say my family put the rock in my hands, and didn't really know the game, didn't understand it. But when you get a taste of success, I got an opportunity to play with my uncles and I blocked a shot and it felt pretty good.
How old was you?
I was 11 years old.
How tall?
Man, I wasn't that tall, Bob. I wasn't that tall when I was 11, man.
Okay.
I didn't hit that growth spurt until I got to that seventh grade to going to eighth grade.
Okay.
That's when I hit my growth spurt. But didn't really understand, didn't know the game, but I did block somebody's shot. One of my cousins shot, and it just felt good. So once that happened, I thought everything else was just gonna fall into place, and then I started shooting the basketball, and I shot the ball over the rim, got the ball stolen from got the ball stolen from me. So I told my dad after that and my brothers, I really want to learn this because I don't want to keep shooting the basketball and over the rim, over the basket. I don't want to keep the ball getting taken from me. So they was like, if you really want to learn, we'll show you.
Okay. You was 11 years old. I can see you too. You probably was uncoordinated and everything, right? At 11 years old, you have no coordination.
Mm-hmm.
I can see you shooting that ball over that rim. And your dad like, that's okay, son. Good shot. But then you start to catch on a little bit after 11 years old. And from what I understand, I've heard somebody else say it too. Terry Sampson even said it. He was like, first time he saw you in grammar school, you was whooping on their butt. Talk about that, man. Okay, from there, 11 years old, from there, 12, 13, that's 7th and 8th grade, you turned the corner?
Yeah, definitely. Because, I got cut from my 6th grade team. Well, it wasn't a 6th grade team, but it was an elementary school team. And at the time, he wasn't allowing 6th graders on, but my brother was already on the team. So they was like, you going to try out. We're going to let you try out, and I didn't make the team. But my father and my brothers always taught me to ask questions if something happens, like basketball wise, something happened. I asked the coach what happened and ask him what you need to do to get better. Mm-hmm. His words was learn how to dribble. Right. And I'm already like a small guy at the time, 6th grade. So I worked on my handles, got my handles tight. So that 7th grade year came next year. And I was like, man, anybody gonna be able to stop me now. Because now I got them handles.
Right.
And then I grew a little bit. So now I'm taller with the handles. So everybody looking like, man, that's Marcus. Man, he grew, he sprouted up like nothing, from last year to this year. That's not the same kid. So I started playing, and of course he didn't want to start me at the time, the coach. So it was my brother's team, basically Stretch, Durrell,
Mm-hmm.
rest in peace to my brother. It was his team basically, and I had to wait my turn. But I knew I was ready, but I just had to wait my turn because that was his team. So now come to that 8th grade year, and this is what Terry Sampson is talking about. Like, this kid is in middle school, elementary school, the 8th grade, and doing his thing, and he's playing against high school kids and dominating. Because
Dominating?
I'm a legit 6'4", 6'5" in
Damn.
eighth grade. So I'm talking about legit, not no. Oh man, this kid is old. No, I was legit 6'4", 6'5". Dunking. I was dunking in elementary and 8th grade. Not no fingertip dunks, hard dunks. So I'm starting to get a rep. In the neighborhoods. Now all these travel ball teams like my man Dynasty, Hope. He had a program called Dynasty. I played with them, and I also played with the Robert Taylors down in the hole. So I'm playing with all these different types of programs. So guess what? I'm seeing all type of different kids. So I'm playing against all type of different kids. Some strong, some finesse, some talk trash. So I'm learning, picking up the game, and understanding that every time I step on the court, either somebody's going to try to get in my head mentally or somebody's going to try to get physical with me. So I understood what was at stake. So when they brought it, I was already ready for it.
Right.
So I
Right.
owe a lot to, the projects that I was from and the Dynasty, my man Hope at Dynasty,
The
and
projects where you was from, we can't take for granted.
projects. Oh, definitely. Well, Hilliard Homes and the
Heal
Ickies,
your homes, baby.
the Hilliard Homes and the Ickies get much love from me, but Chicago in general, because I always wanted to do good for my city wherever I was at. But back in elementary school, man, 8th grade is when I figured it out that I can be special at this.
Wow. 8th grade, 6'4". You say 6'4", 6'5". You like 6'5", and I ain't talking about with shoes on and all that.
Oh, no, no.
So in 8th grade, you had a lot of coaches coming to recruit you coming from high school. You had them all coming to you, calling your parents already.
Man, from De La Salle private schools to West Side Crane. You know what? It was so funny that Cox didn't really come after me, like that, because I don't think Cox knew that Daryl had a younger brother. He didn't.
Oh,
He didn't know that, because my brother was already at King,
that's
and
crazy.
I don't think Cox knew he had a younger brother until he saw me play at Crane, because Crane coach was at a elementary school all-star game, sitting next to my dad, and he was
Okay.
basically saying, "Man, I gotta have that kid right there," but he didn't know that was my dad,
Right.
and my dad turned around, looked at him, and said, "You want him?" And the coach was like, "Yeah, why would I not want that kid?" He said, "You got him. You got him."
Wow. That was the extent.
But mind you, I don't know this.
Right.
So after the game, I'm going over there, I always go show love to my dad after the game, and we shake hands and hug. And he was like, "Meet your new coach." And I'm like, "Whoa, oh, whoa, okay, all right, how you doing?" We talked, and he's like, "Man, I like your game, whoop de whoop." And I'm the head coach, varsity coach at Crane High School, and that's how I ended up at Crane, man.
Wow. And that's amazing, man. That because Crane was pretty good because you had a lot of good friends there that you played with because y'all did pretty well as freshmen, right? And sophomores your first year. How was that first year for you coming in as
Yeah,
a
I mean, but let's go a little bit to the history, a little bit of the history. I mean, I don't know too deep, but I know Corey Blackwell went to Crane, who was a pretty good doggone basketball player who ended up going to Wisconsin, the University of Wisconsin. Derek Young, hell of
mm-hmm.
a player. Anthony Manuel. These are some of the great players who were there before I came to Crane. So I
Right.
knew it was some history there that a lot of players, and got Ken Norman. A lot of people don't know Ken Norman. He was the
Right.
Ken
I
Norman
remember the
Snake.
snake, right?
Yeah,
Whatever
Snake.
happened to the snake? We
Snake
track
went
him
to
down later.
Snake
Damn.
went Snake went to Cranes. So they had the history already at Crane, and on the West Side in general, it's just a different breed, different type of game. So yeah, my freshman year, I played alongside with Joe Doherty, Terrell Jackson, Steve Collins, called him Pookie. Um, all these guys I played with and learned. Mark Lockhart. We all like meshed together, and we had one common goal. And we had a great coach, and Mr. White, who wanted to see us. He wasn't putting leashes on us or anything like that. He was like, I'm gonna give you some structure, and then you guys play your game within that structure, which everybody was like excited, about. We lost one game that year, and that was to Manly. That was to Manly at Manly High School. I think we lost about 1 or 2 points. Um, and I remember I was pissed. I was pissed, and I was at the end of the game. I was like, "Man, look here, dude. We can't lose no more. We ain't losing another
You
mother.
was pissed at one game?
Come on, man. I
You-
I I told the boys. I said, man, we ain't losing another mother game. Watch me, and the rest was history, man. We got all the way to the city championship, of course. You hear that name a lot on our show, Simeon High School, because Simeon High School was already building that powerhouse. They had that powerhouse, high school. So they were in the city championship, and that's when everybody really got an opportunity to see me because it was really on a big stage, city
Right,
championship game right before the big game, the varsity game at the
right,
pavilion. So people were coming early. They were
right.
coming early. So I was like, they getting early. So then they coming early. So I got to put on a show.
You
That
put
was my
on the show?
mindset. Man, I put on a show.
What
I
you
put on a
do?
show, man. I was going coast to coast, finger rolling, dunking, blocking shots, and people was like, man, who is that kid?
How tall was you at that point, Lib? Had you grown some more?
Yeah. Now I was legit 6'6" then, man, 6'6", 6'7".
Damn.
Um, and
Sophomore?
no, that was a freshman,
Freshman. Right, right.
freshman,
Okay, right. Damn.
freshman. So I'm doing my thing out there, man, and all of a sudden, uh, my brother says, "Man, Cox wants to meet with you." Because after we ended up beating Simeon, and I think we beat him by a lot, and and Cox, said my brother said he wanted to meet me. And I said, I don't want to meet with him. The way he treated you, I don't want to go there,
Right.
and then I talked to my brother. I said, Cox met me, and I turned him down. I said, no, I'm not coming. I'm gonna stay at Crane. He's he was gonna be persistent. He's gonna keep coming, being consistent, trying to get me to go, to King. So he came back down there again, and I told my brother, I said, if I make this decision, are you okay with it? And he said, man, I'm not playing no more. So that's on you. He said, do what you feel is best for you. And once I got the blessings from my brother, I made the decision.
Right.
A lot of people think that I went there because of he gave me shoes and all that stuff, but I didn't care about that stuff, man. Really, I mean, it was nice to have, but that's not the reason why I went to King. I went there because I thought, man, they had potential. Because I remember watching the game because they lost to Simeon that year on the varsity.
Right.
Ben was
Was that
playing, and
84?
yeah, when Ben was playing, and
Mm-hmm.
and Tim
Tim
Bankston and
Bankston. Yeah.
all of those guys that
That was a
we had some of the
mammoth
guys.
game, bro. That was a mammoth game.
Yeah, and Laurent was on King's side, and he was at Simeon. So we had I stayed
Laverne.
and watched that game. So now I'm seeing what's out there
Right.
because I really wasn't going to high school games to really check out people unless they played Crane varsity team, you
Right.
know. So when I got an opportunity to see Simeon play in person, I was like, oh, okay, this the squad that we're gonna have to beat. If I stay at Crane, this is the team that we're gonna have to beat, Simeon. But like make a long story short, I ended up leaving and going to King, and then King had Tracy Dildy and all these other great players, Ramil Shorter, Ephraim Winters was there. You just had a lot of history, good history
Right. Right. The legacy.
there. And I made the decision, man. The rest was history.
Well, that history continues because now you at King. and the rest is history. Now you building this McDonald thing that ends up happening later on. But let's talk about that sophomore year when you get the King, where you probably could have potentially been on varsity, but you stayed on. You was on sophomore to work on your game, right?
At Crane. At
At
Crane,
King,
I was. At King, no, Cox wouldn't put me on no varsity. Man, I started as a sophomore on King varsity team. And Cox was Cox, man. He was real slick with his words and the way he talked. And he got me over there and I was playing on varsity, starting on varsity alongside Tracy Dildy. And I didn't want to step on no toes because I'm the new kid on the block.
right,
So this is your team, Tracy. This is Tracy Dildy's team.
right,
I'm following his lead,
right.
and learning, playing with older guys, learning that. But I ended up probably averaging about 17, 18 points, my sophomore year at King. And then it was time for playoffs because the hoopla was it's gonna be King against Simeon because Marcus is over there. They already had some good pieces.
Right.
So we were looking, I'm just gonna say it, we overlooked the teams that we lost to. Like the team we lost to, we overlooked Tilden. Tilden came to our place and it was a playoff game and Tilden gave it to us. And
They just had one of them nights like Villanova did Georgetown that year.
man, and
They couldn't miss.
it was at our gym, man. And I was like, man, I'm a sophomore. Really, I'm not accustomed to losing. We was winning when I was in elementary school. We was winning at Crane, and then we lost this game. So I was heartbroken, man. And I'm like, man, this can't happen no more. So now it's time for, let's rewind a little bit. Cox, after we lost, Simeon was still playing.
Mm-hmm.
And then I remember Cox took us to a game downstate, and I was looking in the stands, and I was like, wow. And I looked at Lavertis. Lavertis looked at me. I said, we got to get down here next year. And the next year, we got down there, man, because we talked about Cox earlier, and when we did the tribute to him and on his passing, that's what I was talking about when I said he was a visionary. He saw something, so he's like, I'm gonna take these guys down there, knowing he knew my personality, he knew Laverta's personality, that we wanted to get there. We didn't just coming down here to watch and eat popcorn. He was like, no, he know I was gonna say something. I'm like, Coach, we got to get down here, man. We
Right.
we had to. We got to get back downstate. We got to get downstate. I mean, not back downstate, but we have to get downstate.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got to work. I started putting in work. Roberta started putting in more work. We started getting the guys together, shooting. We go to Leclerc courts and hoop at Laverta's in his neighborhood. Some of the guys that come down to my neighborhood on the low end, we start hooping, man.
They
And the
got
rest,
ugly.
we was like, if we get that opportunity to go downstate, we know the city championship is going to be it. Whoever comes from the city who wins that city championship is probably going to win that state championship. And we knew that.
Right, right. Because it was on back then, it was only one team could go down, right?
Right.
Right. Oh wow, that's crazy, man. So the next season come, y'all get tapped by Bowen. You done had that time to build up. Now you a junior.
Tilden.
Tilden,
Yeah.
right. My bad, Tilden. I think Tilden had one of my little guys over there named Terrell. I think he had a part of them in his head. I can't remember, but anyway, you come back your junior year, you got a fire. You what happened? Tell me what happened with that. Tell us what happened.
Man, like I said before, when you get elite type players together and you all have one common goal, is to win. It's win as many games as you possibly can. And that year we won. We only lost one game. Now we all felt that we got cheated. And I think Charlie Brown on our show mentioned that anytime you go out of your area and go play upstate, downstate, those teams gonna have it out for you, And it was in Rock Island, We played a team down there. I can't remember the team, but the coach was a legendary coach. Cox didn't care. He didn't care where we went. He's like, they can get it anywhere, So we went to their gym, and we lost. I want to say about one point, but they fouled me out, the Verdes out, and Reginald King out.
Wow.
So they fired. That means they fouled out number 10, number 20, and number 30. So you know they had it on that. The referees had it checked. They knew who to foul out. We didn't have our names on the back of our jersey. They knew they were going after, man. So
Yeah.
we got cheated that game. I'm just gonna say it. We did. We got cheated, and we lost that game. And then the rest, we never lost. We never lost another game, And then it was time to make it to the. And just let me playing in the Red Central. I know people always say Red South, but that Red Central was no joke. You got Robeson, Phillips, Dunbar, uh, a lot of great basketball being played in that conference, man. So you had to battle each and every night. It was a dogfight. So when it's time for us to go play in the city championship and the city playoffs, some of them teams we were playing, we like, they're not ready for us. I can't remember exactly all the teams we played before we got to the big game, which was against Simeon High School. But I can't remember the games we played, what team it was against and all that. But I just knew that we all had one common goal, and that was to get downstate. And whoever was in our way, then they're gonna get dealt with. So Simeon happened to be in our way. Of course, we had a lot of I would say fire behind us because it seemed like everybody was against King because of the the history that Simeon already had, and people were always saying Simeon gonna win. Don't worry about it. I think Kenny McReynolds, I know he was talking about it on the radio show. King is gonna lose, and I'll tell you why. They're gonna get out coached, and so and he said Simeon had the better guards, and so Cox was using all that as ammunition to shoot at our guys, at us. Like, man, they done already said they pretty much got. And they like, man, our guards ain't gonna do nothing. So Cox used that, man, to put fire up under us.
Did you say Cox came in there and told you that they booked the rooms down
Yeah.
there?
Yeah, but history, Simeon does that every year, they say.
Yeah, they do. They do that at the beginning of the year.
Right. So Cox used that and said, well, Simeon said they going downstate and they got the room and hotel. So why don't we just go ahead and take their rooms? I mean, he literally said it just like that, and this was during the game, like a timeout. And he said that, man. So big ups to Cox, man. I miss him, man. Rest in peace to my coach, man. Rest in
peace. Coach Cox. He knew how to push them damn buttons. Good stuff, man. So y'all ended up beating Simeon, which was a good game.
Great game. Great game.
I mean, that was the first high school game I seen on Channel 9. I think the game was on Channel 11 or Channel 9.
Yeah, it was a national televised game. I had people, from all over, man, telling me, man, I watched you play when you were in high school. I'm like, man, I'm living in Florida. He's like, man, we saw it. WGN came everywhere.
Yeah, the super station, right?
Yeah, so they got an opportunity to see. But Nick Anderson played with Simeon, Dion Butler. Baby D. They had a great team, man. And it was
players. How many Division I players played in that game?
Man, it got to be at least 10 to 12.
I mean, that's what I want to know. I know Irvin went Division I. Who else? Who all went Division I off of those two teams?
Well, you got to think about Simeon starting 4 because they had I think, did Mark Bradley start on it? I don't know. Alan Gordon, he went to where did he go? Long Beach State. That's a Division I. So they starting 5 when D1. Right. And our starting 5, no, Emmett ended up going to a junior college, I think. But everybody else, pretty much went D1. So I would say
never happened again. That would never happen again, bro. 9
I would say at least
Division
12,
One
12
players.
guys, man.
And Lord knows,
Yeah,
Emmett could have been
yeah.
Division One too for whatever reason, but I'm just saying he was
No,
a
no,
Division One player.
Emmett definitely was a D1 player. It's just some things happen, man, with the situation. You know, people not handling it.
Politics, man. All that
Yeah,
politics.
people not handling the recruiting right.
Right.
But I think the feelings was mutual. Like we had respect for Simeon. Simeon had respect for us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because we knew each other. I mean, I knew Nick.
Man, even to this day, man, I see how y'all relationships, people like the coaches that y'all had, they thought that they had bad blood, but in reality, off the court, y'all, some of y'all are the best of friends. Because I know for a fact, I won't name names, but a lot of those Simeon guys are your best friends.
Oh no,
So,
no question. But think about this, Bob, man. And that's what I always tell people. We playing a game of basketball, and somebody's gonna lose and somebody's gonna win.
mhm.
So if you're not coming in the game thinking you're gonna win, why play?
Right,
So
right.
so I'm looking at the opposing team and saying, yeah, we gonna beat you. And if they not saying the same thing, then they shouldn't be playing.
They shouldn't be playing. I've never came to a game and said I was going to lose. In other
Right,
words, right?
right. So people can say, man, King was cocky. People can say, man, Simeon was cocky. But we both knew we had one common goal, and that was to see who was gonna go downstate.
And y'all took turns for year after year. Each year, one go, one go, one go. And that's great, man. That was great for the city.
Yeah,
Back in the 80s, I mean, I was gothic. And I tell you what, man, real quick, the schools were rallying behind the teachers. Everybody rallied behind that stuff. The pet rallies, man, we used to have behind that. So, shout out to all y'all guys who did a great job leading this great city. But now, Liv, you go downstate where you finally wanted to get to. Talk about that, big fella. What happened?
man, a bigger stage. The bigger the stage, your elite players have to show up. And I think we talked about this on our show before too. That even with the NBA, when those guys who made it to the playoffs, I'm talking about the Clippers, the big players didn't show up. That's your time to shine.
Right.
So I was always taught that on that big stage, when you start smelling popcorn and hot dogs, man, it's time to show out. It's time to show out. These people, these fans came to watch y'all put on the show. So I always thought that, man, I have to put on the show when I step out there on that court, no matter what type of fans they are, who they are, and where they come from. They could be for the opposing team. I'm gonna put on the show for
Right.
you. And that's what we was doing, man. Me and Lavertis. Lavertis jumped out the gym. Lavertis
Right.
Robinson was a high flyer. I
Right.
knew if I throw that ball up in the air, any kind of way I throw it up there, he's gonna go get it.
Yeah. The runners used to get funky in the crib line.
Yeah. So we had one common goal, man. It was to win the state championship. And think about some of the players that we played against the team. Simeon had Nick Anderson, great Nick Anderson. Then we get downstate, we got to go through, to win the state championship, we had to go through Kendall Gill. So it was just a great experience, for me, to win a state championship in front of the school that I was going to eventually attend. But Kendall Gill, they had a different common, like they didn't want to run, they didn't want to run with us. Teams knew if they run with us, they in trouble.
they
Even
had no
Simeon,
more for dear life.
even Simeon, they didn't want to run with us.
Right.
Like they knew that if we slow it down a little bit, make these boys play a little bit, and Simeon, go back to Simeon game. Simeon, they could have won that game, but some bad calls. I think Hambrick called a timeout when they were up, and it kind of messed up the momentum because they were up by 1 point, I think, and they called a timeout. And then Emmett got 2 steals back to back, and it was a wrap.
It was on. That's that momentum. And
That's
I
the
think Irvin got hurt or something. Didn't Irvin? He was great.
Irvin got hit in the eye, but Irvin, look, this is what happened. I know people want to hear the Simeon story more so than the state championship side of it. Irvin and Nick, Marcus, me, and Lavertis, we was gonna balance each other out. So it
Right.
was gonna come down to the guard play anyway.
Right.
And that's what Cox focused on. See, that's why I say Cox was a genius, man, when it came to that. he knew me and Levert was gonna do our thing. He knew Nick and Irvin was gonna do their thing.
Mm-hmm.
So we were thinking, if our guard play, we get special that play out of the guards, which we did.
Right.
We win the game, and we did.
Right. And the guard, his name was I just had it on my mind. Cato, right?
Yeah,
Shaking,
Reginald King,
shaking bake Cato.
Reginald King, and I think
He played
he,
out his mind that game though.
but he was playing like that all season. See,
Oh.
people don't, they just don't want to give certain players they just do,
Well,
and that's one of
we
the
didn't
reasons.
see him neither. We didn't see him night in and night out. That was our first time seeing him, like you said, on the big stage.
Yeah, but I'm saying this: people don't want to give. I mean, you still had his stats in the paper.
Mm-hmm.
He averaged double figures. He was still giving assists. High assists. He was getting them steals. I mean, Cato, Reginald King's been doing that since he was in elementary school, man. Like really, like blowing by people.
Yeah, Cato was
So,
tough, man. The handle
so
was tough.
he just didn't get it. But that was his chance to show everybody what
Right.
I was capable of doing. Him
Yeah.
and Emmett. Emmett Lynch, when he was in elementary school, he was averaging 30.
Right.
So I mean, we had those type of players,
So
but
that guard matchup was personal,
it
but
was personal,
it was
man. It was personal.
personal, and they took it really personal because Cato and Emmett wasn't getting the pub that Allen and Dion was getting.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah. So it was time for them to show what the guard play at King was really about, because that's what Kenny McReynolds was talking about. King doesn't have the guards to hang with Simeon's guards. And Dion, people, was trying to trash my man to talk bad about Dion, but Dion had a hell of a game. He didn't score a lot of points. I think he had like 8 points, but he had like 8 assists. So Dion was playing his butt off.
He ran the hell out that team, man. Dion
Man,
did exactly what Hambrick wanted him to do.
man,
He didn't get out his body. He didn't turn that ball over. He was fundamentally sound. He stayed right there. And I saw flashes of it. Like he can go where he want to go too. But
yeah,
like Tim
Dion,
Banks said, Hambrick, nothing against him. That was just the way that he coached. And
yeah,
then you
Dion,
knew that going in if you go there. So it's all good.
yeah, Dion was my guy. Like Dion, me and Dion knows each other game. Dion knew where I wanted the ball. Me and Dion been playing with each other, alongside each other since we were in like elementary school and
Which,
certain
which
tournaments.
brings me to this. You were supposed to go to Simeon, or he was supposed to go to King. How was that?
Wait, say it again. You was breaking
One
up.
of y'all was supposed to come to Simeon, and he was supposed to come play with you, or you was supposed to come play with him. Didn't you
Yeah,
tell
yeah,
me?
yeah, yeah. That was man, that's another crazy story. Like we were Hamp, Hamp. We played with Hamp. I think Hamp was one of the guys that used to get a lot of players to go to Simeon,
Mm-hmm.
and Hamp was a good friend of I wouldn't even say friend. He was a mentor to a lot of us. So it was me, Dion, and another guy by the name of Billy. Billy ended up going to play Simeon too. He played football and made it to the NFL.
Oh wow!
But it was always us three playing on the same, teams traveling out throughout Chicagoland. And so one day, Simeon was playing against CVS, CVS High School. So Hamp took us to the game, packed house. And after the game, Hambrick came over, shook our hands, talked to us. And I was like, man, I like Simeon. My cousin was already there, so got a chance to see my cousin, Tony Rice,
Mm-hmm.
and Steve Rice, Steve-O. So they were already there. So Hambrick shook her hand, and then it was this young lady, and I was like, oh, she nice looking right there. And Hambrick looked at me like, you want her? And I'm like, what is he talking?
uh,
And I was like, no, man, and I got a little shot in after that. And so Hambrick walks away, and then me and Dion, I call him Earl. Well, that's his name, Earl.
right.
Earl, we like, Earl. I said, what you gonna do? He said, man, I'm going to Simeon. I said, well, I'm coming to Simeon. So right then and there, we both said we were going to Simeon. Guess what? He went to Mendel and I went
Right.
to Crane.
Yeah, he went to
So
Mendel, came there after I left. You went there.
yeah, Yeah. So
Wow.
we would have both been there. I think we was just caught up in the moment. We was both excited because we was at the game.
You were young, right?
Yeah. I think if somebody would have piggybacked off that, we both probably would have been in Simeon.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because I mean, it was one or two schools that was really going after everybody. So so you win the state championship though. We've got to go back to that now, man. I mean, you win the state championship. You finally did it. How did that feel, man? Who did y'all beat? Kendall Gill now?
Yeah, we beat Red Central. Kendall Gill, his brother, and Bobby Smith. They had a great team, man. A great team, and they had a great game plan. They slowed the game down, and it was a close game. I mean, we ended up winning by 3 points, I think.
Hey,
Yeah, we won a low scoring game, like the 40s. But yeah, we won it, man, and we were all excited, all happy. You
heck
know,
yeah. But
Laverta's got a
your dream is coming to fruition. That had to let you know that it was pretty much attainable at that point for you have to have gotten to that point.
yeah, Laverta's got it. Laverta's got his chance to go out the right way. You know, he won a state championship his senior year. He got sent off the right way, and I immediately started thinking about next year. You know, like man, I got to get back down here. You know, I just can't get there 1 year and
Right.
then call it quits. You know, I got to get back down there. So I was back. I was back at it, man. And of course, Cox, he never really let us like stop playing. We soon when that ended, man, we was back in tournaments playing again and had new faces. We had two, elite freshmen in the name of Jamie Brandon and Johnny Selvey coming, the next year, super freshmen, along with me, myself, and Emmett, Paul Anderson. We had a Richie Smith. We had a good group of guys coming back. So we knew we had some pieces, that we can actually go back and have an opportunity to defend our title. But we knew it was going to be tough getting out of the city. I mean, that year, Dunbar beat us twice. Um, we lost in the Proviso West, Christmas tournament. So everybody just writing us off,
What year
like
was that? 86?
that was 87, 87,
87. Okay.
87, because the game plan was a lot of teams knew they couldn't stop me,
Mm-hmm.
no matter what, Liberty gonna get his. So they were basically saying, let Marcus get his, we stop everybody else. That was everybody's game plan. So if you look around, you look at some of the stats, I was having 30, 40 point games, and
And let me rewind back, Liv. Let me cut you off. So coming into your senior year, did they nominate you McDonald All-American before that or after that? How do they do that?
but of course, they're not gonna put it there before, but how can I not be the McDonald American? I was the number one high school player being recruited, touted, in the country.
Right.
If I wasn't a McDonald All American, then something's gonna be wrong.
Right.
We would have
When
tore up
did
the
you get
city.
that information though? Do you get that before your senior year that you're the number one player in the nation or after? How does that work?
Well, it's different now, um, but we all go to this Nike camp. It's a big time camp, and I came out of that Nike camp as the top dog. And you had to play against some of the best players though. It wasn't about on the AAU circuit,
Right.
like now. It was just going to the camps, and you got to go show out in these camps. And I was showing out in those camps, and I came back and I was, the number one player. And I remember playing against Dennis Scott, Sean Higgins, and Anthony Manuel. I'm not Anthony Manuel. Can't think of his name now. Mark Macon,
Mm-hmm.
those guys, and Chris Jackson was even down there. Alonzo Mourning was even there. He was underclassman. Kenny Anderson. So all these great roof in Princeton, New Jersey.
You paused for a minute there. So you said opt out. You said all these great, and then you paused for a second. You said, "Well,
Yeah,
now,
yeah. I said all those great players, all these great high school players.
yeah, that class of '87, y'all was loaded. So you come back into your senior year, y'all kicking butt. What happened? Y'all make it to city? Y'all win city? How does that work? How did it work out for you?
Yeah, we definitely were a back-to-back city championship. We won the city championship. It was a hard road though, man. We had to play Collins, I think, again. Collins had beat us in the Proviso West tournament. And now for the marbles to get to the championship, we had to play them again. And I told you, I think I mentioned this, that Walter Bonds used to play me the hardest out of anybody I played against,
Right.
because he had the body, he had the body, about 6'5". So it was always hard, but I still, gave him numbers, still gave him this.
Right. Right.
But it was always, he always gave me some, hard time on the court, and which I respect. I respect his game, and so we had to beat them, and then I had to play my old teammate Crane in the city championship. And
Wow.
I'll tell you the story. I was just not coasting. I was playing my game, but I can hear the Crane people saying traitor, traitor, traitor,
What?
traitor. And that kind of just made me pissed. I was pissed.
You started.
So I ended the game, man, with 41 points. Um, and we won the game by a whole lot of points. And I was like, man, I had respect for my players, my boys that was over there, Joe Doherty and all of them, the guys that I played with. But when I hear the fans saying I was a traitor, I'm like, come on now. We won a city championship. I know it was special. It was special there.
Right.
We probably would have probably won the city championship, if I would have stayed. But I gave him 41 points, man, and
That's
that might be
big, bro. That was
yeah,
big in the city championship game for all
yeah,
the marbles.
for all the
So
marbles.
basically, if they would have just shut up the game, you probably would have just
I had 25.
put That's why people got to understand. Don't wake up great players. Just stay away from them. Leave them alone. They might have something else on their mind.
Yeah,
That's
man.
great, man. So you win city again. So that's 3 city championships you got there. Any
Yeah,
Mr. Basketball? Any Mr. Basketballs?
yeah, I was Mr. Basketball, parade All American for 2 years in a row, first team, All Stater, for 2 years in a row, uh, McDonald All American, and it was so
But
it
you said
was.
it was one award you should have got. It was the Naismith Player of the Year.
What'd you say?
What player you said you
What'd you
should
say?
have got? Another award that Dennis Scott got.
Oh, Dennis Scott got the Naismith Gatorade Player of the Year.
Right.
Yeah, I got everything else. He got that one. I got
So he
everything.
got that. Right.
But yeah, I mean,
It's
he
politics with everything. Whatever. He got it, but I mean,
yeah,
that's the boy. It's all good.
yeah, but no, man, I got number love with Dennis Scott. Like he was doing his thing, man, in high school. I was doing my thing in high school. Sean Higgins was doing his thing in high school. Man, I mean, can't get all awards, shoot.
Right. But he was, I didn't realize Dennis Scott was so tall. He's 6'8" too?
Dennis Scott was look, the game back then, man, is what it is now.
Right.
Like he
Right.
was handling the ball at 6'8". I was handling the ball at 6'8". Sean Higgins was handling the ball at 6'8".
Right.
Eric Manuel was handling the ball at 6'8". I mean, we all was handling the ball back then.
Mm-hmm.
So what you seeing now was perfect for us now. Like
Right.
what you see the game is transformed to. So man, but
Well, I'm sure seeing
yeah, we
Magic
won it.
Johnson.
So I won. Oh, Magic Johnson, definitely, man. I mean, that's what if you hear any one of us talk, we probably gonna say Magic Johnson is
You
one of the
had to.
guys we
He's
looked
60,
up to.
6'9". Because he made it okay for a big guy to handle the ball, didn't he?
Yeah, Magic was
Because
he
at
was
first, all of us looking at Magic like, how's this big dude go down there on the post? But yeah,
well,
but go ahead.
I
I
did
Go ahead.
I no, I said I didn't look at it like, I was looking at it that, coaches are playing players at their best positions. Magic Johnson's best position was up top with that basketball, leading the fast break,
Mm-hmm.
and his coach, knew that when he went to Michigan State, that's what he was. And NBA, same thing. This is what he is.
Right, right.
Some coaches, because of your height, like you said, you're gonna play in the post, you
Right.
know, and sometimes that might not be where he best, suits for himself to be successful,
Right.
at. And I think a lot of times coaches do that, you know.
Right.
And who am I to tell the coach what to do? Like it's your team, and
Yeah. But these young boys
sometimes
now, they do. Them young boys now be telling the coaches what to do. They like, if you ain't gonna play me the way you want me to play, I'm gonna transfer, dog. You want me to play? So you win state title. It's time to make a decision to go to college. I mean, I don't understand. That's one I never had that experience to have 100 schools recruiting me, and like, how do you make a decision? Like, how do you make a decision, man? How did you make that decision?
I would say that was one of my toughest decisions or toughest things that I ever had to do because for one, I never been through anything like that. That coaches are calling your house, even though Cox was the one was handling everything for us. Coaches knew how to get my phone number and my house number. They were still calling, you know,
Phone, your number was in the phone book back then. Remember?
oh, ringing off the hook, man. And I just didn't know what to say because they were all telling me great things, and
Right.
I'll commit like right there, like yeah, I'm coming, and then because they were saying, and that's why I try to help kids now. I say everybody, most all of the top elite coaches, they all have the same script that they're gonna tell you how great you are. They're gonna tell you that we need you in our program. You fit what I'm all about, what we're trying to do here, and you just gotta really like do your homework on the school if you want to make that the choice to go play for that coach or not. So to make his long story short, John Thompson, he was after me really hard. Jim Behan, Syracuse, Illinois, of course, and then UCLA came on a little late. Bobby Knight, a lot of people didn't know Bobby Knight was after me. Bobby Knight came to one of our practice in his little plaid, suit coat. So he was actually at King High School on the South Side, man, sitting in the gym watching us practice. And I never got a little like a bad vibe about him, like what people, got because I saw what he was doing with his elite players. His elite players were playing. It was the other
Mhm.
guys that he would get on because he knew he needed those other guys to make it work. Because Jay Edwards was doing his thing at Indiana, and a lot of
Yeah.
other star players, Calvert Cheney, they were all doing a thing at Indiana in that system. Yeah, he did some things that people didn't like, and that's one of the reasons why I was not going there because I didn't like it, the way he, doing things. But I actually liked his what he did with his star players though. He did let him play. So it came down to Illinois and Syracuse, and I actually made a this is all stuff gonna be in my book too, man. So I'm not gonna go into details with a lot of this stuff, but um, it was between Syracuse and Illinois, and Jim Boeheim was almost at every single of one of my games in the city,
Wow.
especially during the summertime. Like in the summertime, we was in this tournament at Avalon Park. It used to be packed. So Jim Boeheim was there, Lou Henson was there, and it was always in the crowd, watching me play. And then I'll see him come out. You couldn't, talk to him or nothing then because it was a violation. So I would look and I would say, man, Jim Boeheim, he must really want me, man, because he's here every time we play. And then I saw Lou Henson, at all the games. So I'm like, man, these two schools are really showing me the most love, And I think that something leaked out some kind of way that North Carolina, they sent me letters, but they wasn't coming. I think they knew that they didn't have a chance because people was, spreading rumors or whatever saying that you don't have a chance. That kid's going to Illinois.
They would have never known though, live unless they tried, man. That's Tar Heels, baby.
And yeah, they didn't really come as hard, I mean, I got letters from them and all that, but they didn't actually come visit. But I got a great visit from John Thompson. sit down and talk to him, man. And I'll share a little of the story with the man that I didn't understand as a kid what he was really talking about. John Thompson, when he sat down in my house, man, with us and talked about what he wanted to see me become.
Mhm.
And me as a young kid from an inner city was thinking, you're not talking about any basketball. And you recruited me because you want me to play basketball.
Mhm.
But he was like, no, I'm recruiting you because I'm gonna make you better than basketball.
Wow.
You're gonna be, well educated. You're gonna get your education. You're gonna do some big things out there in this world. And at the time, I didn't see it. So
Mhm.
that was one of the reasons why I didn't like even consider Georgetown. Because I was like, man, why he coming down here and talking, all this stuff, whoop de woo. And I'm not trying to go there, man. But now I see, you know, I mean,
You preaching the same stuff to these kids now, ain't you, man?
yeah, man, yeah, yeah.
Oh,
I see, you know, as John Thompson being an African American, a black man, head coach, his best interest is
mhm.
our best interest. And he was going to make sure that you can talk to Mutombo, you can talk to Patrick Ewing, you can talk to all these guys who played for him, that he wanted the best for them on and off the court. And I can't say that for a lot of college coaches.
And he did it though. He showed and proved with those guys. During his tenure there, he made sure them dudes was on the straight and narrow. And people don't understand Georgetown is a private institution. It's
Mhm.
hard getting in there.
Dude, he changed Georgetown. He made Georgetown what it was, as far
Right.
as a basketball powerhouse.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't see that at the time. I didn't understand it at the time, what he was all about and what he was trying to do. Um, but as I look back, I knew that he wanted the best, for his players, on and
Right.
off the court. So, but yeah, so I didn't make that decision. And then I went to visit Syracuse, and I basically said I was going to Syracuse. That was the school I was going to go to. And but didn't uh didn't pan out because you could make the verbal commitment as long as you didn't sign no paper. So I didn't sign anything and
Because you committed when you was down there, right?
did it because I got
And
so excited.
who was your tour guide? Tell the people who was touring you
Man,
around.
I didn't even tell my parents, So my mom, Derek Coleman was my, host. But I didn't tell my mom, my dad. I just I got so excited. I just like, I'm coming. So so my mom and dad didn't really appreciate that, but so I had to retract all that, man, and to just let the process, work itself out, and I wanted to commit early because I didn't want the pressure of going through my senior year. So I made that commitment early to whatever school I was going to attend. I committed early, and I made that decision and said I was going to go to Illinois, and I made that decision, man, and the rest is history.
Well, you know what? That was a great decision. Yeah, I know it's hard for a 19, 18-year-old kid, but we was glad to have you at home. I'm gonna tell you that off the bat. Being a Simeon guy, I tell you how much you meant to me back then. Because after we lost Ben, and then you came around at 6'8", I was like, and he's a little bit more athletic, and he's a new and improved version, kind of like because he was 2-year lapse. You know what I'm saying? And that's just how basketball is. So when I saw you,
Yeah,
I was
man.
like, man,
But
look at this dude. He getting this mug and going. You know what I'm saying? So I just want to let you know. Now I always tell you how much you meant to me after we lost Benji. I was like, man, Marcus is a breath of fresh air. So when you stayed at home, I was like, oh man, we get to see him at night. You know
but
what I'm
that
saying?
was but that was my mindset too. Like, losing Ben, that shit hurt me too. Like, it just didn't hurt Simeon people. I know how
Of
people
course.
like you want to make Ben their own. Like, that's my baby. But it hurt it it hurt everybody. It hurt the city. It hurt a lot of people who knew Ben Wilson. And
Right,
Ben Wilson was Chicago, and he was a part of each and every one of us at that time, at that particular time.
right,
He
right.
was our guy. Like, man. So that's why I said, man, you would never hear me say things about being Wilson on a negative side, because sometimes people try to get you to go there. And I don't do that. I say, you know what, Ben did his thing, I did my thing. But yeah, when he lost his life, I was like, I'm the next big, thing for the city, to share some light, because we just lost someone.
I
But
was
man,
wondering, I always wanted to ask you that. Did you feel a certain level of pressure when that happened to pick it up? Like, oh man, we just lost our guy. Man, let me pick this up. I always wanted to ask you that.
no, my mindset was, that's what I used to think. Like, I'm like, damn, Ben didn't really get the chance to finish it out. So give me that torch. I'm gonna run with it. And that's how I looked at it,
Right,
because he didn't fulfill it. He didn't get a chance to fulfill his senior year and do what, people was looking forward to seeing him do. So
right,
I'm looking at it like, now it's my turn, and then you have people saying, you know what, they wanted to cover me, like protect me, like, man, Marcus, make sure you don't go over here, make sure you don't do this.
right,
I had people actually coming to me. It's almost like the city was like, you know what, we're gonna protect this one. We're gonna
right,
make sure he's good.
right.
And I went out and just tried to do the best that I possibly can do, man, to make the city proud of me. So when I go to these events and tournaments outside of Chicago, guess what? I'm representing the city. And that's how I always looked at it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you did it well, big fella. And I want to let you know that. I've always been impressed with the way that you carried yourself. But now you going to Illinois with all the dogs. Okay, you don't play your freshman year. I'm going to speed up to the year you did play, though. That fly in the line, that team. Damn. You say, man, practices. You say, if the practice was on tape, man. Talk about that.
Man, I'm just gonna say that was an NBA team for real.
It could have been the NBA team, right?
Yeah, man, we had guys that was in the NBA coming down working out, with us, like JJ Mitchell, JJ Anderson. No, no, not Mitchell, JJ Anderson, but Mitchell Anderson.
Mm-hmm.
Wiggins, I mean Mitchell
Mitchell
Wiggins, my
Wiggins.
bad. Mitchell
Right.
Wiggins, not Anderson, not JJ. And Ken Norman used to come down every summer. So they used to play with us every summer. So we got a taste of what the NBA was really like playing against those guys. He was with the Houston Rockets at the time. Ken Norman was with the Clippers, I want to say. So we got a chance to see what that really looked like playing against an NBA guy. And plus, we played in the pro-am back in Chicago, so we already knew. So the practices, man, we would hang out all night, party, whatever, drinking and doing what we do. And then practices, it's like Kenny Battle dunked on somebody, Nick dunked on somebody, I dunked on somebody, Irvin dunked on somebody, Kendall dunked on somebody, you know. And it wasn't no like, man, you dunked on me and I'm pissed. We want to fight. It's like, no, I'm about to go down next on the other end and dunk on you.
That was the culture, right?
That's how it was, man. And it was so exciting to see us compete against each other. And then when it's over, we back being homies. And I think that's what's missing a lot in the game today, that a lot of kids don't want to challenge their friends. Like Nick Anderson, me and Nick Anderson, we cool. But when we step on that court, Nick trying to go at me and I'm trying to go at you, and then afterwards, yeah, we
That was
back.
the culture, though. But look, that was the culture we grew up in, though. No matter how much we were friends, that you had to create like your boundaries. Like, dude, I know we buddies, but I am a little better than you. You know what I'm saying? And without saying it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah,
man.
so those that game that year in '89, man, even though I knew I wanted to play a lot, now I had to work more so on being prepared mentally. Like when I do get that call, that I got to be ready to perform, not knowing it was going to be in the Sweet 16, that I had to be ready on a big stage, national televised game against Louisville.
Wow.
Two of our star players went down. Lowell Hamilton and Kenny Battle. So now you need me, basically. But I didn't look at it as, now you need me, nah, 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 right? I looked at it as,
Thank
it's my
God you did.
opportunity. yeah, this is my
Yeah,
opportunity
yeah.
to do something, you know, and me being who I am, I just love playing the game. So I wanted to be out there. I wanted to be out there and help my teammates. And Nick used to talk to me a lot, and he used to say, "Man, dog, you just need more minutes, man. If he give you the minutes, I know you're gonna perform." I'm like, "Yeah, I know, but he ain't giving them to me, you know." Um,
And this the
it-
first time in your life that you've ever really sat down.
yeah, the first time me not start, like I
Right.
wasn't even starting, that year. So yeah, that within itself was a culture shock. That was a shock to me. Like, man, I don't know how this feels coming off the bench and then you playing a little minutes and then you get taken back out. Even if you are scoring a lot of points, you're gonna get taken back out because starters gotta get the minutes.
Right.
So I'm looking like, man, I just got to be ready. But we beat Michigan twice. That year. We was at one time ranked the number one team in the country in 1989. Um, it was just a special year. I think a lot of people they knew that we wasn't like the tallest team, but we
Hmm.
probably was one of the most athletic teams.
Right.
Interchangeable positions, guys can play multiple positions. Um, it was just a special team. And when you have guys like myself, Larry Smith, Irvin Small, coming off the bench, who probably could start on any other program's team.
Hmm.
That within itself shows how special that team really was. And
It's only been four rock star teams that I can say that I honestly see, maybe three, maybe four. And that's when Mark Aguirre was in college at DePaul. That was when LJ and them was at UNLV. And that was when Chris Webber and them was at Michigan. And the Flying Illini. The Flying Illini, to me, honestly, is one of the most revolutionary basketball teams I've ever seen in my entire life. I mean, athletic from 1 through 10, loaded with Chi-Town talent, man, and Illinois talent. Made it to the Final Four, and guess what? There's only been a couple of teams to do that. So, man, that's a credit to y'all, man. And then look at all of y'all now, man. You guys now, all of y'all doing well in life, man. So y'all
yeah,
got
and then Bob, you got to think about this. The teams that you named, those guys flew there to be a part of that.
right.
Larry Johnson came from Texas to go to UNLV. All that talent was from the state of Illinois on Illinois' team. It was not one guy from another state, on that team.
That's crazy.
And a lot of us was from Chicago,
Yeah,
Chicago public school.
I think y'all have one walk on that I know, Ron Trice. He always talk about how great it was being a part of that dynasty over there, right?
Oh, Ron Trice.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ron Trice was a part of our crew. Um, Ron Trice was cool, man. We all used to, hang out and we used to rap, man. Me, Ron, and Larry Smith.
Oh my God.
Yeah, man. It was funny, man. Back then, but no, man, it was a great experience though, dude. For real. Like I would
You stayed 3 years though, Liv, so it had to be fun.
I wouldn't trade it in for nothing, man. I wouldn't,
It had to be. And I've been
yeah,
on that campus, man. I just could imagine, man, those games, what, 17,000 people, 15,000?
yeah, man. It was, and it wasn't like it is now. Like
Right.
more, it's like now that they letting the younger, the student body get closer to the floor. They wasn't as close to the floor when we played. Can you imagine if they were close to the floor when we played? That how it would have been? It would have been crazy, man. Like it would literally been crazy because we would have got hyped off the fans.
Right.
Uh, so whenever we go to a game, whenever I go back to Champaign and go to a game, man, I feel that energy coming out of the building.
Well, I saw a video when they announced you when you walked in the building and it erupted. How did that feel?
Well, think
You
about it.
feel those chills like,
I was one of the like probably the only number one player in the country to attend the University of Illinois.
Really though.
So um, that within itself, makes me proud that I feel, appreciated when I do go back there, and vice versa. I got love for the university as well, and didn't know, uh, but it's just some about it when you stay home and people who saw you play in high school, they don't have to do travel that far to go see you play in college.
Right.
And you build relationships, you network, and people from the University of Illinois still recognize you. They make bobbleheads of you, and things of that nature to show that we appreciate, you know, you guys, the flying Illini. You guys meant a lot to the university. I hear that from fans and people.
Yeah, I mean it's a culture. Y'all a culture. It's a culture within itself. The
Yeah,
flying Illini. Nobody can say that they did that.
yeah.
You know?
But it all started in the city of Chicago,
Right.
growing up as a little pup, understanding who came before us and not, you know, taking anything, for granted. A lot of times people take things for granted, thinking that since you was that guy, like even when I was the number one player in the country, I didn't think that since I was that, so- I got this privilege that I supposed,
Title. You didn't
yeah,
walk around
title,
with
yeah,
entitlement.
I'm entitled, yeah, to play, at the University of Illinois or start at the University of Illinois. I never felt that, I
I
just
would have
wanted to
felt
play.
that.
I wanted to
It
play.
couldn't have been me. I know I couldn't have been you.
Yeah, you would
'Cause
have
I
been
would have
kicked.
been
You'd have
like,
been,
soon as
yeah,
I got there and they wouldn't let me play lid, I'd be like, man,
you'd have
Bayheim,
been,
man, dude, I'm finna come there next year, man. That would have been me though. But you did the right thing.
yeah, you'd have been kicked. You'd have been kicked out of the school. Yeah, I did. I know, I did, man. You'd have been kicked out, but no, man, I love it. All the accolades that I got in high school was awesome, and I wouldn't trade it in for nothing, man. My path was the right path. It wasn't like a bad path. I
It
didn't
was a
go to
great path.
jail.
It
I
was
didn't
great.
go to jail. I didn't smoke weed. I didn't sell dope.
Right.
It was the right path for me, and if I can help any youngster out there, my advice would be, you know what? If you do everything you're supposed to do, then keep on pushing, and if you have some kind of obstacles in your way, don't run from them. Sometimes face those obstacles and understand why those obstacles was there.
Right.
Things are sometimes placed in your way for reasons. You got to understand why. What is this here for? Like, is this something to veer me off, or is this something that, they got to show how tough I really am?
Right. Right. And you did that, man. And so now you finishing up college, you getting ready to go to the NBA. You get drafted by the Denver Nuggets. Did you ever want to play at home though? Did you have that urge to want to play for the Bulls before you get drafted? I just always want like,
Yeah, I actually worked out for the Bulls.
mm,
I worked out for the Bulls. Um, and the rumor was that the Bulls will never draft
a player from
a
Chicago,
player
right?
from Chicago because they know the city too well.
Right. I heard that.
And then what comes along with that, But
Right.
and that's one of the reasons why they say they don't. But if you don't, yeah, of course I wanted to play for the city, Chicago, but it didn't happen, and I'm thinking that even though I left my junior year of college, my numbers were pretty good. Averaging close to 18 points, close to 8 rebounds a game in the Big Ten, playing out of position, doing those things. I'm thinking to myself, I got a shot at this.
Right.
I got a shot at this. To do something special. And
18 and 8. That's good. Them big time. That's good. Them big time numbers.
big time in the top 10 in almost in every category in the Big Ten at that time. My field goal percentage was high, my free throw percentage was high, my rebounds, I was in the top 10, scoring, I was in the top 10. So I was in the top 10 in a lot of things, a lot of categories, self assists and block shots. I wasn't doing too much of that. But no, it was special, man. And so I put my name in the draft. and plus my family was going through some things financially. So I'm thinking that I got an opportunity to help my family. My numbers looking good. So I'm gonna put my name in the draft, hire an agent and then get advice from your agent. The agent tells you certain things and you start believing and then you go, you do it, and I did it. And I remember I got a phone call from Milwaukee Bucks and the Milwaukee Bucks said they was gonna basically take me and it didn't happen. You know,
Ooh. Who did
um,
they take over you though?
they
Like who?
took Terry Mills,
Oh, Terry Mills.
who did not play for them, who
Right.
ended up going to Greece and playing overseas. He didn't even play for them.
Oh,
So I was like, that could have been me. Why like,
right.
but like I said, everything happens for a reason, man. Like
So how did it feel that when you
Peter Bino was I said Peter Bino was one of the owners at Denver. He's a Chicagoan. He was one of the guys that helped uh, an architect who helped put the White Sox arena and building all these beautiful facilities. And so he was behind a lot of that. And he was a part owner of the Nuggets at the time. And he called me and he said, I watched you play in high school, college. And he said, I know you probably down, but we are excited about having you.
mm,
And kind of made me feel good. And next day I was on the plane flying to Denver.
wow, wow, that's amazing. To think that an elite athlete can get down as great as you was, and you need to, we talked about that, how important it is to control our energy when we're going through these processes. But it's hard. You young, because you felt like you should have went higher, but you still got the opportunity. How did it feel when you got there? Like from college, now you in the Denver practice facility, you lacing them up, you getting ready. How did that feel?
Um, it felt great, man. Like really, like it was. I had an opportunity to talk to some of my teammates. I even had an opportunity to talk to Ken Norman, guys who've been there. Nick Anderson was there the year before, got drafted, lottery pick. So I had a chance to pick their brain a little bit to talk about how that NBA life is. But at the same time, they're not in that city with me. So there's a
Right.
lot of things that I had to experience on my own and try to figure out because the older guys that were there, they were pretty much on their way out, but they wanted to see how much they can get. Meaning, if they can get another contract, we need to stay here. So why show this young rookie the ropes? No, we're gonna let him figure it out on his own,
Dang,
and we're gonna keep doing what we're supposed to be doing.
dang.
Uh, which was trying to, get as much as they could out of the Denver Nuggets.
Wow, that's crazy, man. And that hurts, man. That hurts when you're a young guy because you need that. You need a veteran, man, to cuff you to show you the ropes.
Yeah, because if I never played in the NBA, how what am I supposed to? Who am I supposed to look up to?
Right,
It's like when Jamie Brandon came to King. I wasn't gonna let Jamie Brandon hang. Let him figure it out on his own. I'm like, no, Jamie, this is this and that. This is how we got to do. We got to work out together. We got to do this together. We got to do this. Make sure you on the right track. So when I'm gone, you already know what you need to be doing.
right.
So I kind of laid that off like for Jamie, and I just didn't get that. So it's a lot me and Chris Jackson had to figure out on our own when we got there.
Wow. Yeah, man. That's tough, man. That's tough. That's tough. That's tough. But you did get
So
it there. You made it.
yeah, I
So
got it.
your first time getting on the NBA floor, very first game, lacing them up, you looking around like, hell nah. Right?
Well, you got to think, man. I was with the Nuggets, and we wasn't winning a whole lot of games, so it wasn't like really packed. Only time it got packed is when like Michael Jordan came,
Right.
Team
And that leads
Olajuwon.
to this picture I got behind me.
Yeah,
Was that there?
yeah. Those those games were like packed. When Mike came to town, packed house. Magic coming to town, packed house. So we didn't get a lot, but we did get some support. It wasn't until like Mutombo got there, things started to change with the Nuggets a little bit, and I got traded though. I got traded when the good stuff was starting to happen.
Damn.
They made the playoffs. They beat Seattle. I was in Detroit at the time. And
Yeah, that's right. They beat Seattle. That when Matumbo was laying on the ground
yeah,
with the ball.
yeah. I supposed to be on that team, man, and I got traded. And boy, that's one of the toughest things to go through, man. When you get that phone call that you have been traded, to another team.
Now you gotta pack up and do all of that stuff.
And the reason why I say that is because you got to be prepared. Like there's no preparation. They didn't prepare me that you about to get traded. It's just you got the phone call. You can't go on the trip. Detroit Pistons gonna be calling you within an hour. And I'm like, what?
Damn.
Yeah,
I'm
man.
glad you said that, Liv, man. I want you to elaborate on that. And real quick, just 2 minutes. Teams can play players, but the minute a player want to leave, they burning their jersey. Just
Yeah.
2 minutes, man. What do you take from that, man? Let people know how it feels. Like you said, I'm ready to go to Denver. I'm ready to go on the trip, and then they call me. Take us inside of that, man.
That's why, in a way, I'm kind of happy that the players can basically predict or place themselves in different situations with different teams and different players or whatever. I know we say they pairing up and doing whatever they're doing, but at least give them the power to make the right decision, what they need to do for their families. I didn't have that choice. I couldn't say no. I don't want to go to Detroit. I'm not going. I'm staying here. Well, if I don't do that, then it's going to be a problem.
Right.
So I had to pack my bags. At the time, I was married, and my wife wasn't even there at the time. So they were already in Chicago on vacation with my daughter. And so I'm calling my wife, like, I just got traded. She's like, well, who gonna pick me up from the airport? And I'm like, they don't really basically care. It's like, you've been traded. You need to go do what you need to do. And I had to leave my car, man, everything. And I just had to pack a bag with some
You had to
clothes.
leave your car?
Yeah. So I had to just pack some bags that, that I can have enough clothes and get on out of Dodge, man. And I was gone. That was the last time I was in Denver, man, like in 1993, man. The last time. Packed everything up, moved to Detroit. Had to find me a place in Detroit, cold. I'm like, man, I'm coming from the West back to the, Midwest, and it was cold. And just, and Isaiah Thomas was there, of course, and didn't play that much with Detroit. And then that was the last of me really playing in the NBA. And so I tell kids, man, when I go out and speak, man, just continue, because I got down on myself and I didn't want to play no more. I was like, man, this is for the birds, man. But that's because I didn't understand what was at stake. What did I need to keep doing? And I just didn't want to do it no more. I just stopped, man. I should have been, what? Yeah, I don't want to have to go through this and put my family through this. So I stopped and then started back up and played overseas another 6 years, and then I eventually hung it up.
But you played a lot of basketball. So there could be a burnout there too mentally. You talking about a kid been playing since 11 years old, bro. That's a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah. It wasn't even like I didn't get burnt out. It's just when you have people that's coaches that's supposed to be there to motivate you, and sometimes they change, they switch up on you to
Mm-hmm.
try to bring you down. The old school philosophy, I'm gonna tear
Right,
you down and build you back up.
right,
A lot of times they forget about you. Oh shit, I forgot to build you back up.
right.
I tore you down, but I forgot. You
Ah,
know, and when I see coaches do that, it just hurts my heart because it's gonna be one kid or two kids that you do that to, and you're gonna forget that you actually tore that kid down, and that kid's gonna stop playing the game that he thought that he loved or he wanted to love it, and he couldn't get it back in return because of you taking it away from him.
wow. That's deep. That's deep. And it happens every day. And it
Yeah,
goes unnoticed and it goes unaddressed. And I think that the vast majority of these coaches and teams and schools look at us like a number, man. At some point, like, oh, we'll get another one. Another one will come along. And like you say, they'll tell you anything. But man, you was able to recoup and regroup, and you got a great life now. You're doing phenomenal things right now. You want to talk about what you're doing now? I mean, you was out the league, but you picked it back up, and you're doing Liberty's Edge. You got one of the hottest programs down in Sarasota, Florida. Talk about that, big fella.
Doing a lot of things, man. I go out doing speaking engagements, private lessons, teaching kids, mentoring kids, even from afar. I talked to a lot of people back home in Chicago. Isaiah Barnes, who's going to Michigan. A lot of guys stay in contact with Coach Rob at Simeon High School. But yeah, I have a program here called Liberty Edge, and we try to give back and get kids used to playing basketball the right way, teaching them the right way. A lot of times people put the ball in their hands and the kids just running all over the place. You got to give them some kind of structure. I ain't saying it's got to be a whole lot of structure, but give them some structure that they have to abide by, and then let them play their game within that structure. I'm not like that's one thing I wanted to hear a lot. Like, I'm gonna give you structure, but you can play your game, Marcus, within that structure. You,
Right.
you didn't hear that as much.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I want to make sure that I make that a vocal point that you're gonna get the structure part. You're
Right.
gonna understand how to play, but I'm gonna let you play your game within that structure.
Right. And that's usually how it's supposed to go. I mean, they give you the format to start out, but when you're a talented guy like you was, okay, you can start off running the play, but hey, look, divert, divert, go get buckets, because that
That's,
ultimately you need buckets to win.
and that's how Coach Cox was, man. Coach Cox had that structure, but he was like, man, y'all play, you guys can play your game within that structure. And that's what happened, man. That's why we won city championship. That's why we won state championships, man. And you can look at it, the list can go on and on. I guarantee you, we asked some of the coaches, did you try to overcoach your star players or did you let them play?
Most of them overcoached. Overcoach. That's why I chose street ball over school ball. Like, man, that shit ain't no fun. But check it out, bro. Okay, you had a great career, man. But one thing that you're very adamant about, and I admire the most about you, is first of all your humility, and then the fact that you refuse to split Chicago up.
No, I'm not gonna never do that, man. Because Chicago has been like good to me. Like, this is where I was born, dude. I wasn't like no, I didn't fly there and then actually started hooping and doing all this stuff. I was raised in Chicago, born in Cook County Hospital,
Right.
So I have Chicago in my blood, man. And Chicago always gonna be in my blood. It's never gonna go nowhere. No matter where I'm at, Chicago was always gonna be with me.
And for you, it's not north, south, east, and west. It's one Chicago.
It's one Chicago, man. No matter how much we try to divide it, people try to divide it. Even if you're from the west side, even if you're from the south side, just show love, man, for Chicago in general. We have a lot of great basketball history in Chicago, and it's coming from all sides. So we in one big pot, man. Chicago in general.
Man, this was a great interview, man. And we like to close, with you leaving something positive for the youth. If it was anything that you would tell young people after your whole run, Liv, you played a lot of basketball, you done a lot of great things, man. You got a great program. What would you tell a kid right now if he was struggling trying to recover after basketball? I'm talking about after the game, after the ball stopped bouncing. These are for these guys. What would you tell them?
Well, it's hard, Bob, because sometimes we don't, as athletes, think it's gonna ever end. So we think it's gonna always continue. So I always say, and my advice would be, have an exit, strategy. Like, what would that look like? Whether that's you starting a non-for-profit, whether that's you teaching basketball to the youth, whether that's you going out speaking, being a mentor to the next generation of up and coming hoopers, or find a trade. Start. Since you're making money in the NBA, use that money to make more money for you. Start your own business. Whether that's you going to start a automobile place, or being owning a furniture store, or open up franchises, restaurants. Understand what that looks like, because when that ball do stop and you don't have a plan, and you just sit back and you thinking you're just gonna retire when you 30 years old, life still goes on, man. And if you don't do something with that money to make that money work for you, it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard for you to really think about your next move. So start thinking about your next move while you're still playing and
I ain't
making
got
it
nothing
work.
else to say. We got the legend, the NBA veteran, the McDonald All-American, your host, Marcus Liberty. He just dropped bombs on y'all, man. Great show, Marcus, man. Woo, man. Believe Podcast Network. Man, we still looking for sponsorship. Live. Good stuff, big guy.
The Liberty, the Liberty Suite, bro. Appreciate you, man. Hey, you did a good job too, man, hosting the show, man, holding it down. Man, we got to get you doing more, boy.
No, I like being the co-host, Robert Bobby. I like it. I'll give you back your job tomorrow, man, because we got Coach from Cleveland State coming on.
Dennis Gates, yeah.
Dennis
Dennis
Gates
Gates
coming
gonna
on
be on.
tomorrow, man. So we'll be back on tomorrow at 2 o'clock. Until then, I'm up out of here. Your boy Marcus Liberty on Believe Podcast Network. Peace.
Peace. Love you all. I holla.